Hello, hey everybody. Welcome to the Ask KP show. Excited to get this running. But today's topic that I'm super excited to dive deep into, if there's relevant questions, is on Product Hunt. Launching on Product Hunt. What are some tips and strategies that I have? I think I've had maybe like close to 25 launches in the last year and a half. Many of them went on to become featured products, top 3, top 1. One of them was a product of the year last year. It's called Softer. So of course, I've had a fair share of these launches and experiences and playbooks that I'm happy to talk about and share in public. Hey David, how are you?
Hey KP, I'm well, and yourself?
Doing great. Couldn't be better.
I have a question about launching on Product Hunt. So
Absolutely.
What would you say are the main risk factors? Like, what would you be wary of, or are there any things that people should, maybe postpone or consider as a downside? Because it seems like, okay, you're launching a product, you want to launch on Product Hunt, it's a supportive community, great, let's go do it. But what are the stumbling blocks?
Yeah. I think, I'm very biased towards launching in public and, making sure all of the iterations and all of the improvements you make on your product be as public and as community-centric as possible. So I'm going to lean in by default and say, regardless of what happens, regardless of the downsides, the upsides, disproportionately outweigh the downsides. But there are a few. I mean, the risks that come to mind are, especially when you have a sort of a product that's not ready for a vast set of use cases, you may end up gathering a lot of interest from use cases that you haven't prioritized. And so you're probably going to get a lot of comments and demands and requests or whatever from the 3 or 4 use cases or edge cases that you may have intentionally chosen to not prioritize. So I think it's still good to know that there's some demand there. There's some signal there. The other thing is, of course, this is a good problem to have. You can have your site come down, or you can have your, API limits hit because you had so much traffic coming in from Product Hunt. But that's a good problem to have, in my view. I've had a couple crashes on the launch day because there was so much traffic, and I always would take that because we were in real life fixing that and got back online within an hour, as opposed to so many of my other launches, which only had like 10 upvotes. So I'd rather have.
Service is a good problem, right?
It's a good problem to have, right?
Yes.
Those are some things. I think just it's not so much a risk, but just overall a mindset to embrace is to be super prepared for that day being your launch day, and being intentional and present for that 24-hour window. You don't have to be really present in the nights, but as much as you can, not have any other meetings, and really bring yourself and your team to answer questions, to engage with the comments on your launch page. And I think these are some of the things that people overlook because they think it's just a launch and go away.
Quick question that I'll take offline as my time winds down. But how
we'll bring you back into the queue though.
The comments over time, like you say, 24 hours, and with time zones is my question.
Yeah, we'll get you back and ask the question. All right.
I get back. I saw Suzanne in the queue a moment ago. I don't want to, take her opportunity here. So I'm happy to take it off.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll Suzanne, do you mind joining the queue again while I finish this answer? David. So your question was around time zones?
Right. So, I was wondering, is there, since you've done it so many times, do you see feedback, consistently over the 24 hours? Is it weighted in, Europe, US, Asia? What do you see there as far as coverage that one would want to have?
Yeah, they operate off of PST, the Pacific Time Zone, California, because, I think Ryan Hoover was in San Francisco when he started this. So there was by default, that was a, time that was chosen, time zone chosen. So the one tip that I have, which was not obvious to me when I started, was I would wake up and launch in my EST 8 or 9 a.m., EST, which would be 5 or 6 a.m., PST. But I didn't know that you could actually launch at 12:01, like in the night
Yes.
when the day begins of, the beginning of the day, and give yourself 5-6 hours of head start to be, upvoted and ranked up and down in the rankings. I did not know that until, like, I don't know, 10 launches in. And I noticed that a lot of people were doing this at 12:01, and I was like, wow. And if you follow the official guidelines, it was somewhere buried in some of the foot lines, but they do advocate for launching at the minute of PST. So you give yourself 23 hours, 59 minutes.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
All right. I'll skip
Sweet.
myself.
All right. I'll pass you. All right.
Okay.
Hello. Hey, Suzanne.
Hi. Good. Thank you. So my question is about what do you recommend doing before you go to launch on Product Hunt? So what's the lead up to the launch on Product Hunt?
Yeah. Great question. I think first that question itself is important, and even like to consider that there is a lead up. A lot of folks just go straight to Product Hunt, and I definitely don't recommend that unless it's like a pet project and you don't care about the outcome. That's fine.
Right.
The lead up is I've explored and experimented with like a staggered approach. So what I typically have done is I would first announce my project or product or experiment to 5 or 6 people in my mastermind group. These are people who care about you, who you have a really deep social capital with, like reputation or like connections with, and they are all, hopefully they understand what you're building. They're like part of your ideal customer persona, right? You don't want to, even if you talked about what you're building to a best friend, sometimes that person may not be the right person for this thing. So ideally 5 to 6 people, what I would call peer group. From there, you get their feedback. You catch the basic errors. You catch the basic copy mistakes. Catch the basic, I don't understand the value prop, kind of thing from them. And from there, the second iteration goes to me, goes to my Slack groups. Like I'm part of, at least, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them. With the one group where you have other product enthusiasts, hopefully, be 100, 200 people. That's like an ideal size in a channel or in a public group. That's where I would do a soft launch. I would say, hey, look, I'm going to Product Hunt on next Monday. Would love your feedback. Love you to get me some support and some, catch some errors or whatever. And then typically the third step would be my Twitter audience. This is during the days when I had like a 4,000, 5,000 audience. Now I have 35,000. So I'm like, sometimes I hesitate to launch to my Twitter, but I think it's still a good bet because your Twitter, your social circles are still only the folks who know you, and they're not absolute complete strangers like Product Hunt. So I would launch there, and then I would have a mini announcement saying I'm going live next Monday. Would love your feedback, thoughts, and blah blah blah. So by the time I go to Product Hunt, typically, which is the 4th iteration, it will look polished and refined. And sometimes some people look at it and they're like, wow, this looks so great. Of course it looks great because I had 4 iterations before this. So that's the secret. And I always suggest and recommend the staggered approach as opposed to going straight to PH.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think it also gives those people who might come and give you a comment.
Oh, sorry. We lost your thought, but if you want to join the queue again, Suzanne, we can finish that and any other question you may have.
I was
welcome back.
saying that I think it also gives people in that original groups that you described time also to possibly sign up for Product Hunt.
Yeah.
So I know I just did a launch on Product Hunt, and I went to click on it to support you, and I was like, oh, I'm not set up over there.
Yeah.
And what's that? And
absolutely.
I was like, oh, do that
and
now. So
to me, it's kind of like you're bringing your own party to, like it's like bringing your own entourage to a public forum, right? And so, I mean, it's so important to have realistic expectations at these early stages, early groups where among my 5 or 6 peers, maybe 3 of them will be super hyped about what I'm building. 3 of them will be like, yeah. But that 3 is huge. And then you got the second
Yeah.
group of Slack folks, then maybe like I got 10 there. I got 13 so far. Then you got my Twitter or your public Twitter or whatever. You got like, I don't know, 50 people there, or maybe even 40. Together you have about 30 to 40 to 50 folks on the launch day who are going to not only upvote, but leave you a comment
Yeah.
with some meaningful, thoughtful feedback or praise or a question.
Yeah.
And this is the secret that a lot of people don't understand, that, everybody who's crushing it on Product Hunt's homepage right now has this entourage that you haven't seen them. So that's why you're like, wow, this is like, blowing up on top 3 or top 5. And that's because they have done the work, pre-lead, the lead up work, and they've brought the rally, to the public forum. So
Cool.
yeah, it's one other thing that I learned. But yeah, sorry, do you have a product hunt, in mind? You have
We're well, I'm like paying attention to this one because you're doing it, and two, because I'm thinking months down the line. We're at the very, very beginning stage of thinking of a build in public marketing. We're a couple years into thinking about the concept, and we're a couple months into exploring this specific app. So we're still in the validation stage, but it's when I'm starting to think about, okay, we've got to do some build in public stuff. I don't really know a lot about it, which is why I found you and have been following. And then even though we're not at a stage that we'd be ready for Product Hunt yet, I'm thinking about that and being like, what are the steps that we have to do prior to that, and prior even to the steps before we stagger? What are the ones that are before that, so that we can get going on them?
Yeah. I mean, no, I'm glad you're thinking about all this, a bit ahead of time. Where are you calling in from? I know we got a 9
Victoria, BC, Canada,
BC.
Just close to Vancouver. Yeah.
Very cool.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great seeing you today.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. That was a great question. Another tip that comes to mind on this topic of Product Hunt is, this probably is obvious to a lot of people, but it wasn't to me in the early days, is I didn't understand the value of questions on the launch page. So I was only looking for praise because, praise feels good, right? It boosts your ego. Like, for example, I launched, I don't know, something like Kappa, one of my, projects, let's say, and like early days, this is like also part of my lack of a mature perspective. I mean, maybe I was like not transformed enough at the time, that I was looking for praise, looking for people to give me compliments, saying, yeah, great stuff, blah, 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 under the launch and in comments. And have had a significant shift in my mindset since then, personally, but also like from a business perspective, because, really personally, I mean, I don't care about the praise that much, because I think internally I have my own sort of understanding of, how far we are, how good is this, what else do we need to do. I look for 1 or 2 meaningful compliments here and there, but like I'm not looking for an overpouring compliment parade, because that's not the point. The point is to discover what are some prompts, some interesting angles, interesting twists, interesting use cases that you haven't seen, you haven't thought about from the crowd. And so the business benefit of this is actually Product Hunt prioritizes, and the algorithm favors if there's more Q&A style question and answer under the launch, as opposed to just a blanket of, yeah, great job, rocks, this is awesome, this sucks, this, or maybe not that. But so I've realized that actually, and some of my recent launches I've noticed where there was a lot of Q&A back and forth have ranked higher compared to just like 20 positive compliments that didn't end with a question. So another tip that so these days, what I request or what I ask my audience is to not simply just say support us. I usually say support us and leave a question if something comes to mind. That little subtle change in CTA, call to action, can make a huge difference. So and I try to practice this myself. Even this morning before I came on the show, there was one of my friends, Max Haining and Michael Novotny, had a launch on Product Hunt. And I went and supported them just to give an upvote and, in the comments section. instead of just simply like back in the day, I used to say, great job, blah, 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 and move on. But I did that, but I asked a question, a thoughtful question, or something that I was curious about. It doesn't have to be like, super scientific, but I think something on the lines of like, they had a resource, crowdsourced resource that had, so many no code projects listed. So my question was a very simple, curious question on, what are your plans of extending the roadmap? Like, how do you plan to keep this list up to date? Is it going to be crowdsourcing or is it going to be manual? That's it. And that led to another comment from the makers. So, yeah, I think comments and questions are way more important than just upvotes alone.
Hey, KP.
Sean, welcome back.
I'm in the dark, man.
You're in the, you're definitely, is it that night? Is it that late in the night in South Africa?
No, it's just gone after 6 p.m., but it is winter down here. So, the sun is long gone. But hey, here's a quick question for you. Just in terms of describing your business, in right. the little summary and the description, can people get it right, and what should we avoid to get it wrong? Because I feel like that little, that description is pretty much your hook, right? Like that's something that's important. So, what are some best practices in your opinion there?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, the title is the title, right? If your project is called Waitroom, the title is the title. It's called Waitroom. But the subtitle and the description, which is the longer, description. The subtitle is usually 60 characters, I think. So it's what you want. It should be a showstopper as much as you can, right? And it's the punchier, the better. And a lot of the times the hook is the subtitle. The main title sometimes doesn't even matter. Like Waitroom could be called Q Room or something, or Wait Q.
Right, exactly.
That doesn't matter as much. So what they're looking for is like, what is the hook, right? What is that subtitle, the 60 character thing? So I would actually workshop that if I were you, or if I was, launching this multiple times. And I've done that with founders where I was helping them with the hunting and some of the, launches. We would workshop that hook multiple times, much more than, other parts. Description though, is, some good practice about the hook is make sure that it invokes curiosity, make sure that it is slightly novel and it has a little edgy, opening to it. And then
any clickbait? Any clickbait?
Yeah, clickbait. I think, more tongue-in-cheek, right? Hopefully not like so boring clickbait, but more tongue-in-cheek is always fun.
Yeah, you won't believe this product, right?
You don't want to say stuff like Waitroom, you're not ready for this or something. Like what the heck, But you want it to be like a little tongue-in-cheek, like, I don't know, Quibi, but better or something. Like, I'm just kidding. I'm not knocking on Quibi because it was a disaster. But yeah, like you want it to be as playful as you can, if you possible. We did the radio show. We did the founder hotline project launch last week, and the hook was like a retro radio style, a retro radio show you would want to be part of, or something on the lines.
Right. Okay.
So I know we're almost out of time. Let me finish the thought there. So I think that's key. The hook is very important. Description, I would try to make the description as matter of fact as possible. I think that your creativity should be more in the hook, and description should be more of a logical justification of, your creative hook, right? What does it do? Give me the TLDR. I think there's a 300 character limit there, so you have some space. But yeah, that's, don't try to make it so big either. Just keep it short and punchy. And that's it. The rest can be part of the maker comment or, a hunter comment. So yeah, I think, we have a special guest. Goku!
Hey KP, how's it going?
It's going so well, man. Good to see you. How are you? How's the baby?
Good to see you. Thank you. Sorry, I'm actually on a walk with the baby right now.
I'm assuming that maybe Nick has a question for me for the Ask KP show.
Yeah, exactly. So Nick wants to know, I've heard that there's different days of the week that are better or worse for launches, and also the time of the launch, like 12 a.m. Pacific or something like that, makes
Yeah.
a difference, but it depends on the type of product.
Yeah.
So wanted to know your thoughts around that.
Yeah, great question. First of all, thanks for joining the feed, joining the live stream. So let's tackle the first one first, which is the date or the day of the week. I agree. Anecdotally though, empirically, I don't really have like scientific data, but I think what I've noticed is Tuesdays and Thursdays have been performing better than other business days, and definitely no weekends. Weekends, it's easy to rank in top 3 on the weekend, but you're only going to get 1/10 of the eyeballs. So you're probably going to get like, I don't know, compared to a normal launch, they have at least 1 or 2 million views each day, in my view, on an optimistic day. So on the weekend, you probably get like, I don't know, 10K or 20K, 30K. So very, very less in my view. So I wouldn't launch on the weekend unless it's like a fun side project you don't care about. You just launch, that's fine. But empirically, Tuesdays and Thursdays have been better, in my view. I don't know why. I can explain why. That's been my mantra. It does, again, it's not the end of the world. If sometimes you can't find those 2 slots, I would still launch on Monday or Wednesday. It's fine. Maybe not on Friday. So that aside, the 1201 PST is actually a real thing, because everybody else will launch at 1201. So if you're launching later than 1201 PST, like 3 a.m. or 5 a.m., 6 a.m. PST, it's just that you're going to be behind in the race. You may somehow still get ahead if your product's such a great thing, or if it appeals to the product enthusiasts that are on Product Hunt. You may still make it. For example, like I often see Stripe launch later in the day, and they still make it back. It's Stripe, right? So.
Okay, awesome. That makes sense. Quick question was around, you mentioned the importance of a hunter. So I was wondering, what is the role of a hunter? Is it promoting it across like different platforms, or is there some sort of role that the hunter plays on the Product Hunt platform itself?
I think they should probably like not call it hunter anymore, because back in the day there were only a handful of hunters who would bring these launches and products to life on Product Hunt, right? They were like the gatekeeper, like middlemen through which they were like the curators through which new products were launching on Product Hunt. But now anybody can be a hunter, so that it doesn't have the value that you used to have back in the day. However, there's another piece that I think is valuable, and maybe they should not call these hunters. But what the other piece is, in my view, is that folks who have a huge audience, folks who have a huge reputation, folks who have huge networks and following off Product Hunt, can help significantly, on your launch on Product Hunt, right? So Patrick Collison, founder of Stripe, a few others like that, like Eric Turnberg, founder of On Deck, a few others, they actually, they have significant networks and connections in real world or online. They have, let's say Sahil Bloom has an impressive newsletter, huge newsletter. So, when that person becomes or chooses to be a hunter, you of course have a massive advantage, because inevitably that person is going to talk about this either on the podcast, or they're going to talk about it on the newsletter, saying that, hey, look, I am hunting, or I am launching, I'm helping Gokul's product launch today, and check it out, right? That will attract more eyeballs than some nameless person hunting you. So my suggestion is either go for an elite audience person, like someone who has a network, someone who can like really amplify as much as you can, or hunt it yourself. Anywhere in the middle is pointless.
Got it. Awesome. Thanks a lot, KP.
Awesome, man. Great seeing you. Great catching up.
Yeah, good to see you.
Enjoy the rest of your walk.
Thank you.
All right.
See you.
See ya. Bye-bye. All right. The tactic around day is actually the day of the week is actually unique as well. So I'm glad that Gokul brought it up. I'm trying to think of what else that I have learned recently about Product Hunt. we talked about the images, the gallery, the GIF. I mean, there is a lot of folks I agree to in the sense that a lot of folks say that a GIF, a logo that's part of a GIF, the thumbnail, if the thumbnail is a static image versus a GIF, it seems to make a difference. The community seems to prefer moving objects or moving, logos or moving animations or whatever on the thumbnail, which I agree. I think if you can make a fun thumbnail that has a GIF in it, I think that's slightly better. But they're all like, we're talking about the 0.01% optimization. I think at the end of the day, if you have a great product and if you have your own entourage coming up and showing up and hyping you up and rallying around the product launch, those are the keys that will easily get you into the featured rankings. Along with if you have a great hunter. I mean, there's a lot of myths around the hunters. Should I have a hunter? Should I not have a hunter? I want to clear it off on air that factually and technically, you do not need a hunter to hunt on Product Hunt. It is not what they advocate. If you go look at any of their new information, any of the new posts, you do not need a hunter to launch on Product Hunt. That's an old school playbook. So you can practically, I think I just saw this stat this morning. I think about 60% of all number one products of the day have been where the makers hunted them themselves. So you don't need a hunter. So don't use that as an excuse to not go live on Product Hunt. Having said that, having an experienced hunter or having someone who's a top hunter, someone who's done this many, many times, is just a nice to have to kind of ease your own stress, to ease your own anxiety on the launch day, and to guide you in the steps that need to happen before the launch, during the launch day, and post-launch. So it's just kind of like, you can climb the Mount Everest solo, or you can climb with the Sherpa, right? Like it's not one thing's not better than the other. And absolutely, you do not need a Sherpa to climb the Mount Everest, to climb the mountain. But I think it's just more of a way to ease out your own anxiety if you're feeling super stressful. If you have a high stakes launch, if you have a big VC, level company, and you're you don't want to screw it up by making obvious preventable mistakes. And I think that's when you would probably, want to have a hunter help you. That was awesome. Felt like time just flew. And I'm super honored for everybody who showed up and watched the feed. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys on the next Ask KP show. See you all and have a great rest of the day.